What's up, you guys? Welcome to AstroTorah Podcast, the podcast where we talk about astrology and Torah. In this week's episode, we're speaking to Matisyahu. So many identities, so many ups and downs, a beautiful journey, all discovered through the lens of the chart. Stay tuned to hear all about incredible discoveries. As a Cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer is...
Did we start? Are we?
Yeah.
Well, we're rolling. Okay, cool. I'm like, let's save all this for the interview. Okay, cool.
Because when I saw gold, Jack, you...
Yeah.
Teeth knocked out.
Yeah. Is he a Cancer?
Role model.
I wonder if he's a Cancer. I heard that like the most fighters are Cancers. Did you hear that?
Yep.
Mike Tyson's a Cancer. Right? We share a birthday. I think June 30th.
Yes. Yes, Cancers are the toughest because they are the crab and they have the crab shell, and they also play defense, so they're like sideways.
And the
pinchers. The pinchers will hurt you, but most importantly, it's the shell.
The shell is tough.
So when they get hurt, they shut down completely. Inaccessible. So that's why the meanest and the bulliest could also be Cancers, but only because they are hurt and only because they've been badly hurt and they know where it hurts. So they will be able to hurt you really badly, really well, which is like why Cancer is a dangerous sign, because it has so much love, but if love is distorted, then it becomes the craziest weapon, the cruelty, because, you know, like you feel like you have to shut down because you're going to get too hurt.
That's very true.
So do you relate to that as a Cancer?
100% true. So that's why the astrology stuff is so wild to me, because it's so on point. It's crazy. It's so crazy. Like, for example, Talia, like my wife, you know, she's Gemini, but then we figured out that she's like Aquarius rising and Aquarius moon. And she totally has way more Aquarius in her than Gemini, I think. Like, yeah. And I was like, oh, that makes total sense, because she's like 2/3 Aquarius. You know? And I don't think it's only that, but like it is crazy. Because for me as a Cancer, just like to get real, I mean, like that's how I am. Like I'll try really hard, and I will love like very deeply and be very loyal. And then if I like don't feel like that returned, or I get crossed or hurt by that person, then I will literally just like be completely done with them. Like they will I don't even have a choice. It's like they just go dead to me, like inside, off my radar. I have no feeling anymore for them, like for no sensitivity or empathy or anything. They become like some other thing, like not human to me.
So can you explain that a little bit? Because people will say, you know, when I try and say that to people about Cancers, like, no, like Cancers can be the meanest and the cruelest because you've taken advantage enough of them long enough that it's over for them.
Exactly.
So would you say that
I've
that's
had
true?
to really work hard on expressing myself in the moment, you know, and sometimes that will come out like in crazy ways, like with anger or frustration, or I'll be loud or yell, you know, and that hasn't really been good for me, my kids, you know. So I've had to learn how to like temper that. But I have learned that like my nature is to just like hold on to stuff and like turn the other cheek until I'm done doing that. And then when I'm done doing that, the relationship is over. And I've seen that happen like in marriage. I've seen it in relationships. I've seen it happen with bandmates. I've had many different, and I've cycled through lots of different people, managers, and lots of different things that have come through my life until I find like that thing. And now that I'm mature enough, I've like locked in on who those people are, and they're like, I guard them. They're like mine. They're like my people. Like if any, like I'll protect them, you know, with my life, you know. And I've realized, you know, for like a long time, I think because of maybe being a Cancer, you know, I was like very much just into doing everything alone, you know. From the very beginning, from like my desire to start praying to God before I was even religious, because I was like so lonely, because I couldn't really relate to other human beings so well, like I didn't know how. And then like in the religion, very alone, like on tour, on the band, like always kind of like in my own room, in my own space, you know, obviously with the family and the kids and the boys and stuff, but went away from them. Very separate on my thing. And then eventually, like I started to realize that like relationships could feed like the soul. And who's like the person that I realized that with the most? A triple Cancer. Stu Brooks, my bass player on tour, became like one of my best friends when I was sort of one of the times where I felt most alone. Isn't that crazy? He's a triple Cancer.
So crazy.
Yeah. And we just had like a understanding for each other. Like a unspoken. We didn't know that. We weren't doing astrology or nothing like that. But we just had like an unspoken, and I'm sure a lot of people feel that with Stu because he's the same way. He's, but and then I started to realize, like as I've moved into this like next phase of my life, that everything is about relationships. Like, like Bereshit bara Elokim, like Hashem created the world base, like two, like a relationship. Like the whole entire creation is a relationship between Hashem and this world, right? If Hashem is just all alone, he's everything and he's all alone, there is nothing. And then you have this world as an expression of him trying to have a relationship with something. So this world is all about the relationship between you and the other, and the relationship of two. And then I've started to hone in on that and realize that, and then thank God, like I felt all of a sudden, I felt like loneliness went away, and it seems like common sense, like obvious to most people, like the relationships that you have are going to be the thing that feeds your soul. But maybe for a Cancer or an artist or for myself or whatever, or maybe because early relationships kind of like left me feeling like left out on a cliff or something, or like, injured in some way. I just decided like, no, I wasn't going to have like real relationships with people, but I always had a dream of that. Like I always had this goal, this vision of having like real relationships with people,
Yeah. So your Cancer sun.
I'm what? Yeah, sun.
Your sun in Cancer. Cancer is the sign that needs relationship the most. It's the sign that needs it like air. So it's the sign that's going to hurt the most if the relationship disappears or gets destroyed. It's going to be really, really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I suffered for like a long time, and it was hard to put my finger on what it was, but for a very long time in my life, I was like in pain,
Now, another layer to your sun is that your sun in Cancer is in the 8th house of Scorpio. And Scorpio is another sign of water, right? So Cancer is water, cardinal water, and Scorpio is fixed water. It's the sign of the middle of the season, the sign of Shalom, right? Like the middle of Cheshvan.
Oh, and it is the middle of Cheshvan, right? It is the middle of the season. And he's my middle sun. Yeah, that's cool.
So Scorpio is the sign of relational intensity. So I don't want to have any relationship with you. I want to have a transformational relationship with you. So the Cancer sun needs the relationship to exist. I need to be in relationship to be.
Right.
But you needed it to also be deep, intense, transformational, which also created the entanglements and enmeshment, because you don't connect with people, you connect with their soul. So then when your soul is left bereft from that person that you really deeply connected with, this is a lifetime that you have to heal or close off a past life relationship that needed to start and end in this lifetime. But there is something that's going to deeply affect you forever. So it's not just, I need relationships. It's, I'm going to need the relationships that are going to touch my soul. And without that awareness, now, like you said, like you learned and now you have your people, but without that awareness, it leaves you extremely vulnerable. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you love people. Like you really almost need to be in a relationship. And when you are, you're very attached to that person. So I would have like these issues, like, for example, like with my managers, right? Because manager is someone that, as a musician and stuff in your career, they're not just managing you on, necessarily like what kind of merch design you should put on a t-shirt or how many shows you should do on that tour. They become like your person, And for me, so there was an attachment in the sense that and whoever I would become like attached to, I would often like really care what they think of me, You know, that always would like go hand in hand for me. So on the one hand, I really care about your opinion, and then usually get hurt by your opinion in that way. You know, if there's some kind of judgment or something like that. So then I'll have to like break off. You know, just break away.
So I'm assuming that you healed, and on the other side, you knew to choose the people to actually care about their opinion, right? Which are not necessarily your manager, but your person, you know, like your wife,
right?
Your best friend.
Yeah.
And then you learn to tone down your need for that relational intensity in other relationships.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. I just have like my few people that I'm like really, really connected to. And like luckily those people are like, I need them, you know? Like I needed to have like another person, like a soulmate, like a wife, someone whose like opinion really was important to me, who I really knew care about me, like truly deeply, wants the best for me. It's, you know, so when I found that, and then when I was able to let go, knowing that I have my own deficiencies and my own struggles, and I was able to like let her guide me in the places where I have like a weak spot or like a blind spot or something like that, through like faith and trust. And then I was able to rise like to higher levels. So for me, that was like, you gave that to me. So now like now you have my trust, you have my heart. And so that's kind of how the relationship goes, you know. And then same thing, I'll be helping her with her blind spots and weak spots. And if she's not defensive, like how many women or people in relationships can be, because she can trust that it's coming from love, like that we're really trying to like climb a ladder and like climb out of our dysfunctions, basically. So, you know, and once you establish that trust, you know what I mean, and that love, that relationship, then you can really like help each other. And like that's what the relationship is, a good relationship is supposed to be. Same thing with my manager now too, you know, through certain circumstances, like my best friend, the person I trust the most, who I feel is probably like next to my father, like the biggest mensch, like the in terms of like just tov, like goodness, is now managing me, and together we're figuring out my career and all the different aspects of it, which is what I always wanted, like a teammate, someone I really trusted to do that. Same thing there, you know. So, and then I have 6 kids and 3 dogs. So like between that, you know, that's really, I realized, you know, and then there is the musicians as well. So there's that issue. There is that issue too, because the musicians that I'm making music with in my band, there has to be like a deep, deep level of trust with them. And sometimes there can be or not be, and that can be like either it can be amazing or it can be a real issue for me. If one person like in the band, I feel as there's something, not some kind of block or something, then it will really affect me deeply. And for a long time, I wasn't really able to hone in on things, and I was so non-confrontational that I didn't really want to deal with things out of fear and stuff, mainly that the other people won't be able to, their egos won't be able to handle it or something. So I always like to try to take care of like other people's egos and what I think they can handle. I think that's a Cancer trait, to like want to take care of people or to have like deep sense about people. Yeah. So always like what people are saying to me was always sort of like irrelevant. I was always like looking beyond that and saying like, what is this person's, where are their like, where's their ego? Where's their like, you know, on a, like in a deeper way. So
like their mother, basically.
Like not trusting like kind of their words.
Not caring. Ever. Yeah. Just
but
going
more
deeper.
like what's your angle kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of sizing people up, you know, like with a lot of judgment. I realized, like as I've come in like later into life, like what, you know, like how judgmental I am of people, you know, not always like holding it against people, but like very, very like I have like a certain kind of eye where I'm like really like balancing, like looking for things subconsciously.
Awesome. So that actually leads us to your moon, because so Cancer.
So that's my mother, and and she's a Virgo. And that's my moon.
So even more so.
Yeah.
Your Cancer sun, your sun, is ruled by the moon, which is the sign of Cancer.
My Cancer sun is ruled by the moon. What was the Scorpio aspect of the Cancer?
The chart, the birth chart, which is the picture of the sky at the time of your birth, is divided into 12 houses, 12 compartments, right? And every compartment, every house is a sign.
Right.
So the first sign is Aries. The first sign, the number one, the Nissan. You know that sign very well because you have a lot of Aries kids.
Right.
Right? A lot of Aries energy at home. Yeah. And the 8th house is the house of Cheshvan, of Scorpio.
I see.
The Scorpionic house. So your sun, which is the Cancer sun, which is the mother, the protector, the lover, the guide, the nurturer, the one who feeds, the one who wants to create a safe space no matter what, is in the house of Scorpio. So I want to love you with intensity.
And that means it was in this house of Scorpio. It means like that was the first sign. Scorpio was the first sign at the time that I was born.
So no, that's your rising sign. So we'll get to your rising. It's in the 8th house. So like here, this is your first house.
Sorry, because I'm trying to understand astrology more, so that's why I'm asking.
Can't wait to teach you all about it.
Yeah.
You see here, first house, that's your rising sign, and then this is the 8th house, which is where your sun is. So I'll show you.
Okay.
I'll show all that to you after.
Okay.
But
essentially, now you were saying about my moon.
Exactly. So basically, this is how like you go deeper, and astrology is one way that Hashem is trying to express himself through to speak to us. And it's pretty clear when you just look up. If you want to look up, if you're trying to look up to God, then the answers are always there in the stars. And basically every luminary, every planet rules a sign, right? So the moon rules Cancer, it's her sign. So your Cancer is ruled by the moon,
I see,
which is in Virgo. So those Virgo traits, and with Virgo we have judgment, because with Virgo we have wanting to fix, wanting to heal, wanting to perfect. So the perfectionism is going to impact the way that you mother, the way that you father, the way that you care, the way that you love. So this Virgo energy is very important for you specifically because your moon's in Virgo, because your sun is in Cancer, and because your Virgo moon is all the way on top of your sky, meaning that the way that you love and nurture, which is your moon, is through your work and through your devotion, through your mastery, through your expertise, through your music. So the way that you love is connected to the way that you perform and the way that your emotionality is kind of like visible, which is very hard, which must be very hard for you because a Cancer is private by nature, right? It's like, it's my home, like, don't come close to me, right? The crab has the home on its back and it's like, it's very safe. I don't want anyone to come too close.
Yeah.
Yours is in the 8th house of Scorpio. Scorpio lives underneath the earth. It's like very, very buried, very private, very mystical, very hidden. But then your moon is all the way for everyone to see. It's that exposure. That your devotion, your artistry is for the world. So it creates that dichotomy. Do you feel that?
Yes, big time. And that's why like for like so many times people always say like, and even myself will feel guilty in public places for not being more of like a star or being more outgoing or more like wanting to connect with people. Cause like, you know me, like I don't want to be bothered. Of course, it's nice. Like I do have like an extroverted aspect to me, maybe the Sagittarius or something like that. I kind of like am extroverted actually. Like I'm actually very connected to like everything that's happening outside of myself. Like outside, I'm very aware and affected by it all. People, things, spaces, all of it, emotionally. And, what was I saying? Sorry, I lost track of my thought.
It's so cool. Then I'm going to bring you right back, but also I'm going to add something, which is so awesome. So like
the extroverted side thing.
Exactly. Like we have both. I want to protect myself. Like don't come too close.
The paradox of it.
But also like my emotionality is really for the world to see.
It's for everyone. Yeah. And so, so for me, for sure, like to be in like a deep space of emotion and feeling, and to be like naked in front of everyone. And like, like I was in that play Equus. I played that boy Equus, like right before I started my music and becoming religious at a very crux time in my life. I literally was like in a play where I was fully naked stabbing out the eyes of horses, you know, in Central Oregon Community College. Like, this is like crazy situation, but, you know, and I think that was like very telling. And also, you know, I had my chart done at some point by this woman, and one of the things that she found, which I was never able to find what it was like some psychologist who did some kind of test or something with these cards, and on the beach with one of her clients or something. And the card that was drawn for me, and you can look at the cards for like the card for Elvis or the card for, you know, all these famous people, and it's just like, boom. It's like, it's some aspect of like their neshama that you wouldn't expect, but like, you're like, oh yes. So mine is like a boy naked, standing at a bank of a river, trying to catch a fish. That's mine, you know? And that is so like Cancer and Scorpio and like water signs and Moshe and also fish, obviously. Like my first experiences with like music is like the band Fish, right? And Trey and all of that. And like even now, like I'm learning lessons through it. So it's just kind of cool. And like the fish, the Pisces, you know, I don't know, just all of it. You know?
I know. And 5-ish.
Yeah, 5-ish. Is 5-ish flaming, means flaming, right?
Yeah, but it's like 5-ish, like the kind
fish,
of, you know what I mean?
Feels like a fish. Yeah.
Yes.
It does.
Right?
Yeah, it really does.
And 5-ish Herschel, which is your name.
Deer, yeah.
The deer is Naphtali. Naphtali is Adar.
Hirsch, though, is also a deer, right?
Yeah, Herschel is the deer. Tzvi, right? Tzvi Hirsch. It's like Herschel is the deer in Yiddish. And it's Naphtali. The tribe of Naphtali is the tribe of Adar. And Adar is Pisces.
Yeah.
So we have the radiant deer, but it's Pisces, it's the fish. So we have that 3 water component. And for you, Pisces is at the root of your chart. So Pisces is your foundation. The energy of Pisces, which is the energy of surrender and communion with the divine and swimming in the seas of the divine, that's your root, which is what holds the foundation for your Virgo moon to shine. Yeah. So Pisces is the core. Yeah. It's the essence. And then we have the Cancer 8th house.
Interestingly, just to chime in, like when I was ready to have a relationship for real and be in that like real relationship, like with Talia, then we had a Pisces. Esty is a Pisces, and she's born at the time of Adar, you know, which is kind of cool.
Yep, 25th of Adar.
So kind of cool.
Yes, so cool. And you have Uranus in Scorpio in the 12th house. Uranus is the planet of disruption and disruption, shock, electricity. It's like channeling, you know, like downloading straight messages from God in the 12th house, which is the house of Pisces, the last house. So having Uranus in Scorpio in the 12th house shows that your spirit, so what is behind you, what is pushing you, what is your motor, is that constant disruptive communion with the divine, that God is talking to you. And about that, a question to you. Do you feel that, you know, like in your messaging, in your music, in your performances, do you feel before that God is talking to you? When do you ever feel like this is my message, the message that must shine through me, and I am the message more even than the messenger?
That's a great question. There's like different aspects to it. There's like there's like more of like a Soviv and a Mamali, like, and there's like different kind of like ways of looking at it. But there's like the more mental aspect of it, where you're like after October 7th, for example, where all of a sudden I felt like something like turn on inside of me, like shock, like a shock, like that just like woke something up inside of me. And then it dawned on me and became very evident that like I kind of like, not that I forgot my calling, but like I was just in a different space, but like that I was being called back to do something that maybe that I could do that other people can't do, you know, and a responsibility for that.
Yeah.
But that's all kind of like mental, not like in the heart, right? Or like in the moment. So like in the performance, sometimes there could be a moment where I will have like a moment where everything just feels like completely right. And like in that moment, I feel like it's more like God is always a mystery. Like God is never like revealing himself to me in like words or sounds, you know. It's always like us, you know. It's always like us, like trying to like create some kind of space, like have this conversation, and like create this emotional space that softens and like opens, and like hopefully there's something there like at the core, you know, and we can like dance there, you know, we can like sing there, we can like, it's just like it's more like you feel like you're being heard. Like, you know, in the idea that like when you feel someone watching you, like the Cancer, like the public with the emotionality, like the idea that like that is the time that you shine, like in the sense that like if Hashem is like watching you and you really can like feel like you're being watched, then you're like, you feel the countenance of Hashem. You feel like you're, all of a sudden you come to life. Versus like if you don't feel that, you know, then Hashem isn't there, and then you feel alone or you feel frustrated or, you know, whatever, like you're suffering or something.
Yeah.
So it's never like, and that's why, you know, for me, for like a while, like I spent so much time like focused on all of that it just felt, at some point I just felt like, okay, it's time to like pause and like take a break from that, like see what it's like when that isn't the core of your focus and existence, and just become this world be the focus, only this world. Like everything beyond is like just for fun.
Yeah.
Astrology and religion and spirituality and all of that is just like extra. That third dimension to reality is just because it's cool. It makes things more interesting. That was like my perspective for a while. Whereas now that like shifted a little bit to like, no, there's actually something kind of like important about it. You know?
Yeah. Not
dogmatic or not like, but something that's actually at the core of like who I am, and like there's actually something that I actually feel like a purpose to the world, you know. I just kind of fell back into this idea of like kind of the relationship with God, because I guess that's more of the nature of who I am. It's more the nature of who I am.
Yeah, but
it's hard for me to not believe in God.
You needed that safety badly first.
Yeah.
You needed to and that's something that I want to segue into. You have Chiron in Taurus, so there's a wound of home. There's a wound of like finding my home, finding my space, building something sacred. So Chiron, the sign of, you know, the wounded healer in the sign of Taurus, the sign of the home. Cancer being the father, the mother energy, you know, I'm the nurturer, I'm the one, I'm going to cook for you, you know. And I've watched you so many times, you know, like do the stuff, you know, pick up the kids from school and whip up dinner and watch them do their homework and then put them to bed and the whole thing. Take them to games and over again, just so naturally. But this is something I want to talk about. Cancer is the moon, and the moon is the mother. The moon is the feminine. She comes and goes. She's full and she's gone. She's cyclical. You know, she gives us a hint of a smile in the sky, and it's like, oh my God, yes, like there is something there. And sometimes she's gone, and it's so dark and it's painful. And sometimes she's whole, and it's so magical. And you realize, you know, like something else is out there. The Virgo is the energy of the Virgin, and it's the energy of the month of Elul. And it's the returning back to God, like during Tishrei, during Libra season, the season of the scales, we're going to come to meet God again. And we're going to be in this beautiful balance. It's going to be me and God, and we're going to have this conversation. But to get there, I'm in Virgo season, right? Elul. And I'm going into the fields, and God is in the field to meet me. God is going to meet me there. And Virgo is the energy of purification, which the shadow of Virgo is perfectionism and difficulty and looking for the cracks and looking for what is broken and how do we fix you, and it's all this trauma drama. That's the shadow of Virgo. But in our beauty, in her beauty, and that's what's very interesting, in her beauty, Virgo is the virgin. She just wants to be with God. She just wants to be in the experience. Like, she wants nothing. And that's something the Alter Rebbe says that's what the Rebbe quotes the Alter Rebbe saying the last day of the Hayom Yom is, I don't want, and that's something that you said to me on a different occasion. I remember once we were talking, you said to me, you know how they say that if you say Ashtray 3 times a day, then you get the world to come? And you said, that's why I don't say it. Because I'm not trying to get the world to come. That's not what I'm about. I'm not trying to get something from these practices. I'm not trying to get the cookie. And the Alter Rebbe says, I don't want anything from you. I don't want your world to come. I want just you. Mm-hmm. And that's the devotion of the Virgo. She's here for the experience. She's here for the conversation. So we're talking about divine feminine energy. We're talking about the Shekhinah, right? The divine feminine presence of God. And something that I feel and believe and see a lot in my life and the men around me is, as much as the Shekhinah, the divine feminine presence of God, is in exile with us, right? She's the presence of God that does not leave. The same way like God has left, like she's with us, she's suffering with us, she's like Rachel, she cries on the side of the road. She's like, I'm not going forward. I'm staying with the kids. I'm staying here. The divine feminine energy is trapped in the world with us. But I feel like it's the most trapped in men that are embodying those qualities. Because with the Virgo moon, and you also have Virgo North Node and the Saturn and Virgo at the top of your sky. So it's a lot of your primordial energy. And that very deep, profound Cancer sun, we have a lot of divine feminine energy. And in a world that tells men to toughen up and to be more in their masculine, when you yourself are raising, thank God, a bunch of boys, like, how do you relate to that divine feminine energy?
That's a great question. I think like it's good. This is a good segue into ice hockey, because I think that like with Jack Hughes winning the gold and all of that, and the Olympics and all of that, but like my love, my passion was ice hockey before music, and it's only that I broke my collarbone and couldn't play that I started really getting into Bob Marley and all of that. But hockey is the greatest blend of like grace and beauty and like toughness and Tiferes, like the blend between the two, and it's fast and it's graceful. It's on the ice and it's gliding, and it's very like it's like a water sport in that it's like water for me as a Cancer. I think that the fact that it's on ice, right, and but it's also tough and like very fierce, and for me it gave me a place to exercise a lot of these qualities, right? So like, for example, like I could be protective of my goalie, which is my home, and like no one comes into that area. And if someone does, like I'm gonna lose, I'd like take their head off, right? And be like, where did that come from? This like hippie kid who listens to Fish, right? And then at the same time, like, it's totally a team sport, and it requires like, physics of knowing like where to be and when and timing. And all of that can end with a big hit or all kinds of, an impact, I don't know. It's just a beautiful thing. And with my boys, they all played hockey. Why did I segue into that? You were asking about being a father and like feminine energies and stuff and whatnot. Well, I think that like, I definitely had like the characteristic, and my son here is in the room, so I don't know if you're like listening to this or whatever, but that I do have like a kind of like motherly aspect to me of like taking care and like loving and I think that my kids like have all felt that from me, and then I also have just, I think, a very like boyish energy to me, you know what I mean? So in terms of like I don't know what that means in terms of just like being into sports with the kids or roughhousing or being physical or being like hands-on, is very much like the way that I have always was with my kids.
And as an artist,
yeah,
the the divine feminine qualities of having to be soft to listen to the voices that come through you so you can write, and the process, the creative process of writing and rewriting and being in music and being in your zone. And those are feminine qualities of receiving, right? Like you're receiving, you're listening, you're patient, you're dancing with your own music, you're creating, recreating, all of that softness that you need to have for your message, for your gift, for your light that you have to share. Those are feminine qualities. Like if you weren't as soft and gentle with what's coming through, would you have allowed yourself to be that, that artist?
Yeah. I mean, for me, listening is so important, for everything. Like for music, for being a parent, for gaining like wisdom for life, like for everything is like all about like listening. Shema Yisrael, like being able to, and so the most like with kids, being able to like hear them, I guess. But we all like go back and forth, I fly back and forth with being like obsessed with my kids have had to deal with having a father who's like a singer and being obsessed with myself and not having time always for thinking about them or being able to listen to them. Also my temper, I've gone into like fits of rage for years, anger, also issues with addiction and trying to escape and not being able to deal with the pressures of life and stuff like that. So, while I have like water is the nature, I think to like the real nature of who I am and it is listening and caring and stuff like, I'm very aware now at this stage in my life of like what my kids have gone through and not because they've confronted me on it, but as I start to think, as my boys become men and as I like think back on it and I start seeing them, I start to think like, wow, like, it's amazing. You think of what we as like kids endure, from our parents who are like trying their best, but are not necessarily always the most functional people. And, they've been through a lot. It's pretty amazing.
So for you, all of that water is ushered through in the world through fire, right? It's like we have all this emotionality and this intuition and this sensitivity, but it's coming through. And it's very funny because I wasn't 100% sure on your birth time. Like, was it 5:30 or 5:32?
Yeah.
And for some people, the chart is pretty much identical, but yours would be radically different. It would be either your rising Scorpio at 29 degrees, meaning the full completion of Scorpio, or your Sag rising at 0 degrees. And Sag is fire. Sagittarius is fire. It's the fire of the miracle of Hanukkah, Sagittarius, right? Which is this...
And also my name, Hirsch, Five-ish Hirsch, flaming Hirsch, fire.
The flame, the radiance, right? And so it's 0 degrees. So a sign as 29 degrees, from 0 to 29. 29 point, pretty much. And when you're ushered in your rising sign, which is the sign on the horizon at the time of your birth, it's basically your incarnation, like you're coming through as the mutable fire of Sagittarius. So all of this beautiful water, all of this beautiful connection to God and artistry and love with other people is ushered in through this moving flame that's rising up. It's rising up, it's blazing up. This is coming through a blaze. And the fire of Sagittarius is not like the fire of Aries or fire of Leos, it's the fire that moves. And Sagittarius is the bow and arrow. It's the bow and arrow that's pointed towards the heaven. So you're coming in at 0 degree Sagittarius is the seed, the chokhmah, the dot, the ignition of that fire that moves up. And then you have the planet Neptune, which is the planet that rules Pisces, in your first house, which makes you as an individual a Piscean person. So even though you're all fire, you are incarnating water and you're talking water and you are porous like water. So this is another signature of intense waters in your expression of self. Now, what's super cool is that at 0 degree Sagittarius, we have like that seed point of, we go from Cheshvan to Kislev, and Cheshvan is the depth of the dissolution inside of the soil. The scorpion is underneath the earth. The scorpion represents the seed that is rotting so that it could sprout up. So all of Cheshvan is the rotting. It's like the discomfort, it's that loneliness, right? It's like I have to do this by myself. It's very painful, but I don't have a choice, and I have to die to be reborn again.
Mar cheshvan, like the bitterness, right?
The bitterness, exactly. It's like that loneliness, that solitude. But then there is a switch that happens, and the seed starts to rise up, right? And the rising up is the fire of Sagittarius, which is exactly when you're born, and it's from Cheshvan to Kislev, and your chosen identity essentially is Matisyahu, the high priest of Hanukkah, right? The story of Kislev.
Right.
Which you choose.
Right.
You choose, and 0 degree is a birthing of a new line. It's coming in to tell a new story. So it's the energy of someone having to choose himself at some point, because you're coming with nothing. There is no backup.
That's 0 degrees.
0 degrees. So when you're rising at 0 degrees, you are incarnating anew. And it's Sagittarius, it's Kislev, it's Hanukkah. And you choose the name Matisyahu, which is like Matthew, so it made sense. But then you find out that you have another name.
Right.
Had you known that, maybe, you would not have been called Matisyahu to the Torah, but clearly there is this energy of Kislev, of Hanukkah, of the miracle, of the light, the rising up that's coming through you.
And also Sagittarius is like, I think of like a deer. I don't know why.
Well, there
like
is
the bow and the arrow, and like the like. Isn't there a sign of like
the centaur?
Is there the centaur, which is like horns, right?
The centaur is a man horse.
Male horse, right?
So
it's a male horse.
It's a man horse. So
it's not a deer.
It's very fast though. It's fast, like Naphtali, the gazelle. Naphtali is the deer. Right. So now you're not only, remember, like you're Sagittarius, but your Sagittarius rising is ruled by the planet Jupiter, and your Jupiter. So what kind of Sag rising are you going to be? Your Jupiter is in Leo in the 9th house. Leo is the king, the performer, the artist. So the planet that rules your rising, and your rising is your life path, right? Because you walk into the world in your rising sign 0 degree.
Right.
It's ruled by the energy of the performer, Leo, the artist, the king of the jungle, the king.
King without a crown.
The king with a crown. In the 9th house of sharing, professing, education, the house of Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is the one who is going to go far away to explore, to come back with the truth, right? It's pointed towards the heavens. It's pointed towards the skies. That's the whole looking up. So you're not going to have a life without God, Torah, astrology, mysticism, because by nature you are mysticism, right? Like your entire journey is, I'm a wanderer, I'm a seeker. I'm a born seeker. I'm here to seek. I'm here to find more. But it's not happening without safety in the world. Like your emotional body, your body needs to be safe, to be grounded, to drink, to sleep, to do all the right things so you can have those experiences. That's the moon in Virgo. Virgo is the nervous system. And something that's super cool about Virgo is Virgo rules the nervous system. And Matisyahu is a high priest, and we know of the stories of the priests channeling the word of God through songs and through rhythms and melodies, right? So the whole concept of a nigun, of singing a melody that is somehow channeled through you, you just come up with. What a nigun does, when you sing a nigun and when you hum, it regulates your vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the nervous system. So humming a nigun is healing through channeling of God. And this is the most elevated you can be, because you are literally bypassing words, bypassing any boundaries to just channel music. So how do you connect with that energy of like channeling that music?
So deeply, like you're saying, because the melody is like water, like it's grounding and it's like comforting and it like brings you down. But then there's also this aspect of this like fire, like in your davening, for example, like why I'm like so fat, got so pulled to like Carlin or davening, or loud davening. Like when I found out like you could yell and like scream at God. And then when I found like minyanim that were doing it, like there's only a few, there's not that many, but like minyanim where not people like was singing together as a group always bothered me. Like the melodies, like, even though I love Carl Bach Nigunim and I love different Nigunim, but like something about everyone like yelling in their own tune in this organized chaos, but yet it's all in the same key, and you just like adding to it, and it's all like rising. And to me, that's what davening is. And that's why I love Karliner davening. Like when I spoke to the Rebbe, he was like the double-edged sword, you know, it's like cutting the klippas, like davening is war. And that is that Matisyahu, Sagittarius, fire, Hanukkah energy of like, that's like, there's a part of me that was like really down to like, let's go. Let's like light it all on fire and let's burn this place down, you know, it's or up. It's really like burn this place up. Let's like go up, you know? But then also there's the aspect of the melody that is, like you said, like it's calming, it's soothing, it's like water, it's like grounding. And so you find like this paradox, but also like in order, like you're saying, to have both. You really have to have like both, like the safety, and in that safety, for example, if I'm feeling like trust with my musicians and the crowd and the space, then they can like really light up. But the second I'm starting, my trust gets lost because someone's not listening or someone's yelling something from the audience, or right. So I've had to learn how to like try to hone in on that even with my Cancer aspect of like needing the safety and needing, you know, creating a home has been like really important for me on stage, like in the venue.
So as a Cancer,
music,
that's something you do all the time.
You're creating, you're like nurturing, like the crowd. That's how I look at it. I've never looked at it as like you're watching me perform. I've always looked at it as like my job is to like create a home for everyone in this space where everyone can like let go and just like trust. And now we can all like ignite. And all of that, and like it's interesting because like you were saying about 0 degrees, like all of it a lot of times is ignited for me in tshuva, and like the idea like where you are vulnerable and you fall apart like a seed in the ground, and you just like really allow yourself to fall and to just be exposed and to just like, and then from there, and like when everything is gone, you know, from that vulnerability to like build back and then like rise. And that's like, that to me has always been like the epic, like that is what I'm trying to do with my music and trying to do at a show. There was a time where I was like taking acid and literally doing that in the years of like 2012, 2013, but it obviously like wasn't sustainable for more than a year or two, you know. But if you came to one of those shows, you may have experienced that. And there were some shows like where the redemption moment didn't happen, where the breakdown happened, and then I wasn't able to like build back up for whatever reason. And those moments made me question my like entire existence. And then the moments where it does like build back up made me feel like this is why I was born. Like this is what I was put in this world to do. Like this is what I can uniquely do that not a lot of people can do. And that's like the greatest feeling in the world. I feel like stepping into my being, into like my higher being. Yeah.
And that moment of tshuva, you know?
And tshuva is like, it has something to do with it. Like it's like this deep thing. And that's why like Hashem always like is like connected to Hashem for me for some reason. Hashem and tshuva and like rising in music, soothing in music. Music like soothes and it also like ignites. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, because you know the Sagittarius rising is that ignition fire.
And I was, you know this, but I was born on Ezekiel's chariot on the Hey Tammuz, which is like the chariot of flames, of fire with the 4 faces. It's like, I'm sure you have a whole trip on that with astrology, like totally. The ox.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
The human, the eagle, and what's the 4th one?
That's for our next episode.
Oh my God, that should be. I think I want to make that the cover of like my next album. I'm gonna do like a roots reggae album again this summer, and with like a lot of like Hebrew and like prayers and stuff like that in it. And that would be a dope cover.
Well, it's your birthday, right? So like
Hey Tammuz, and it's Zalman Schechter's passing. It's the day he died.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
You're born.
Thomas, the chariot.
Yeah,
and like the fire.
Yeah, so that's a whole
and the
other
faces.
Yeah, and there's. I
had a revelation on Purim about this. Actually, I was in Tampa, 2013 or something.
Go ahead.
And took like a hit of acid. I was fully tripping. I mean, like on psychedelics. Tripping is like old school way of saying it now. Like everyone takes like psychedelics and they don't call it tripping. They call it like
a journey.
Journeying or whatever.
I'm on a medicine journey.
Right. So and it was perm. And I remember like as I was like shifting through these different voices, there was like the reggae voice, and then there was like another voice that was like very soft and like from deep within. And there were like these, and as I would like go through my songs, and I knew like, oh, this one does the reggae, and this, it was like I was cycling through those 4 faces of the chariot. And like, wow. And they were all really, really powerful, but it was almost violent the way I was like flipping between them.
Ooh.
Right? Like it wasn't like they were like working like in a
through
way
you.
of tikkun. Like it was more of like tohu. It was kind of like, wow. It was working through me, but it was like, it was wild because I was like, I'm in charge. Like I'm driving the chariot, and I can flip between these different voices and like these different beings, kind of like water, like kind of like the ability to shapeshift a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the mutable energy of fire. Sagittarius moves.
Right.
It moves, and he will go where it's supposed to go. And with all your water, so Neptune is the planet of Pisces. It's in your first house, so it's in your body. Meaning you are the shapeshifter.
Yeah.
It's not something that comes to you or something that you say, it's who you are. And how much do you feel? Because that's also very scary to hold that kind of energy in the world. So how much do you feel like you had to protect the fact that you yourself are you, your life, your journey, your story, you, with all your multiple identities and like that rebirth and those incarnations and your messages changing, like you said, like violently coming through you. How much did you have to protect? How much do you have to protect yourself? Because you're very vulnerable.
Yeah, for sure. And like not always understanding that you're like protecting yourself from yourself. So you like end up damaging yourself. You're being self-destructive,
Yeah.
Cause like it is very physical for me. I find that like if I'm like using something that's like physically harming me, right? Or if I'm like, everything is so tapped into the body by me. Like that's why now, for example, like I'm, running every day or doing like physical activity. All these things, we know these are like important things for people, to like shake up the molecules and shake up the energy and like keep everything flowing. You know what I mean? Because it's so easy to like, for me, I find I can feel like I'm like a sponge or like some kind of sticky substance, and like I'm constantly just like drawing different energies to myself. It's just like the way I am, kind of like. And so like I've like tried to be like more and more like this, and like smoking and drinking and all these different things to like try to like just like shut it all out, protect myself and whatnot.
So that's Neptune.
Yeah,
that's Neptune in your first house. It's like your pores in your body, but at the same time your nervous system is highly activated from all your Virgo energy. Right. So like we need the soothing, the melodies, the calming, the regulating.
Sure.
And we also need what Neptune in the first house is being highly spiritual and being nurtured by spirituality.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, then you're going to have to run away from it, right? Like, because it's too much. You have to, take it by the horns, and you have to be like, you're going to work for me.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, it suffocates you because it's too much. It's like the waters of the ocean. It's going to drown you. And there is that sense that I could drown. Like I'm going to drown if I stay here. So I'm going to just escape. I got to go.
Yeah. Like running like for your life.
Exactly.
Or else drowning. I feel that's a big feeling for like a big part of my feeling often. It's like feeling like you're drowning in this situation and you have to like run out of it somehow. 100%.
So we're going to wrap up.
So what I've found now, like for myself, simple things, simple lifestyle things, but the balance of like paying attention to my spirituality, paying attention to my physicality, paying attention to my home, paying attention to my relationships, like all of these things, I treat them all in like a caretaking manner, and paying attention to my music, obviously that as well. But like getting better at it, right? Like working at it, right?
Yeah.
Like not just expecting to receive from it, right? Because music can give you, that's why people want to be musicians or whatever, because they receive, right? They're like, oh, this gives something to me, right? So, but when you work on your craft, it's like you're giving to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
like,
sometimes like, you know, for me, it's more about like working on my craft is where I shine, is where I, you know, then when I have my show or my performance. And what I found now is like, if I'm taking care of, which is obvious stuff again, like, but I'm actually doing it at this particular point in my life, which I have at different points, you know, but it's been hard for me to be consistent for like long periods of time for some reason. And at this point, it's like, all right, so just having that balance of being aware of that and knowing that like this is how I feel good basically in the world. You know, it's kind of like I have to run, I have to do something physical. Yeah, I have to daven, like for real, not like in a room full of people where I'm worried what I'm gonna sound like. Like I have to express myself to God. I have to like have like a space where I feel safe that I take care of, whether it's the back room of a tour bus or it's like a big house or it's a, whatever it is, you know what I mean? I have to have plants there and I have to take care of them. I have to water them. You know what I mean? I need a little bit, you know, and what I've realized, and obviously after all this time of like constantly having different surroundings that are changing around you, you know, you're trying to like figure out how to create home wherever you are, you know, and there are like little things, simple little things that will do that will help you with that, you know. So as a final, you know, 46 years old or something, like figuring out these little things, it's not like the deepest thing, like rocket science. Like I have to have these breakthrough moments or these like shows where I'm like tripping on acid and I like completely like come apart and come back together in front of everybody, you know. But like if I consistently like run 5 miles a day, daven every single day, take care of my voice, my craft, and view myself as a singer and as a performer first, you know, so take care of my body and like my voice and my relationships around me and all of that. Then when I like step out onto stage, you know, then like all that work that I like put in, it almost like my emotions just like almost like I completely break down. I have to like learn how to control them. It's no longer an issue to find emotion. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's more like how do I contain the emotion and like put it into the craft, as opposed to just like come apart. Because for a long time I would be on stage and like not know how to find an emotion. I get like so angry and frustrated at myself that I couldn't unlock the emotion behind the music or my songs and stuff, you know? So, but it's like, obviously it has to do with the work that you put in, like before you step out onto the stage. Yeah. And then that's like when people ask me for advice and stuff for like younger artists and stuff, or for my boys and stuff like that, I'm like, that's kind of like my biggest piece of advice that I like will say to people. Yeah. So you're the Sag rising at 0 degree, ruled by Jupiter, the planet that rules Sagittarius, in Leo. So your energy is the seeker, the wanderer, the mystic, but through performance. It's through being that king. That's your initial energy. In the 9th house of professing, confessing, sharing. That's the tshuva energy. Also, like I want to share my devotion. I want to share my journey. I need to share my path. And what's interesting is your Jupiter is connected to Mercury, the planet of communication, the messenger, in the 8th house of secrets and depth and intensity, right? The house of Scorpio. So there is this outward energy that is sharing with the world something that you know that is mystical, that is not for anyone to know and see. That is really how you are developing that devotion, right? Like taking care of your body, running your plants, your space, being a good Cancer, being a good Virgo. Because the Virgo needs, right? She needs to be everything. And it's like, you know, I wrote out my little like schedule today. Like I hand wrote it like sloppily with a pen on like a little thing. But still, that's like the Virgo in me. And like every time I like accomplished something and I was like right on in the minute, like a couple, I was like, feels so good. So like, wow, I did it. I'm on schedule. That's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible conversation. As you can see, the secrets of the chart are limitless, and it's a pleasure to be on this journey with you. So stick around for all our next episodes and see you soon.